Welcome back to Have More Babies. For so many of us parents, figuring out children's sleep, well, it can feel like a real puzzle sometimes, can't it?
It really can, constantly changing.
Exactly. So tonight we're going to try and piece some of that puzzle together. We've gathered quite a bit of information, articles, research, even some notes from you listeners, all focusing on those common sleep struggles kids have, and maybe more importantly, why getting enough sleep is just so vital for them.
Yeah, think of this as us trying to sort of filter through everything out there. There's a lot of advice, sometimes conflicting advice. Our aim is really to pull out the key takeaways and offer some clarity.
Clarity is definitely needed, especially when you're running on fumes yourself at 3 a.m.
Right.
and your little one isn't quite their usual cheerful self because they're tired too. So practical info is gold. Okay, so let's start big picture. Why is sleep so essential for kids? It seems obvious, maybe, but what's really going on?
Well, it's fundamental, really. It underpins almost everything. We're talking physical growth. Lots of growth hormone release happens during sleep.
Okay.
And mental health, emotional regulation. You know how cranky we get without enough sleep?
Oh, yeah.
It's that, but it also affects how they learn, how their memory works, consolidating everything from the day.
Ah, okay. So like processing the day's events.
Exactly. Their attention span, their behavior at school or home, even their immune system function, it's all deeply connected to sleep quality and quantity.
Wow. It really is like a foundation for everything else.
It is.
Now, something that always comes up is how different the sleep needs are. A baby versus a 5-year-old versus a teenager, it's worlds apart.
Absolutely worlds apart. And the sources we looked at give some helpful ranges, though. Always remember these are general guidelines.
Right. Best to check with your own doctor.
Always. But generally, newborns, say 0 to 2 months, they're sleeping a lot, but in chunks. Maybe 9, maybe up to 18 hours total.
Huge range.
Yeah. Then 2 to 12 months, it starts consolidating a bit, usually around 12 to 16 hours, including naps. Toddlers, so 1 to 3 years, you're typically looking at 11 to 14 hours. Preschoolers, 3 to 5, maybe 10 to 13 hours. Then school-aged kids, 6 to 12, need about 9 to 12 hours. And even teenagers, 13 to 18, they still need a solid 8 to 10 hours.
It's surprising how much sleep teens still need.
It is, and often they're not getting it, which is a whole other issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so with those ranges as a backdrop, let's get into some specific sleep issues parents commonly face. What's near the top of the list?
Insomnia comes up again and again, and for kids, this isn't just like one bad night. It's a consistent difficulty either falling asleep or staying asleep or sometimes both. Basically, they're not getting enough sleep even when they have the chance.
And what does that look like? Just fighting bedtime?
That can be part of it, yeah. Bedtime refusal, struggling for ages to drift off, maybe waking up a lot during the night. And it's surprisingly common. The research suggests maybe 20, even 30% of children experience it to some degree.
Wow, that's quite high. Is it all the same kind of insomnia?
No, there are different types, which is useful to understand. First, there's behavioral insomnia. This is super common, especially in kids under 5. It's often tied to learned habits like needing a parent right there to fall asleep, or maybe getting up frequently because they know it gets a response.
Ah, classic associations.
Exactly. And while occasional issues are normal, when it becomes a regular pattern disrupting sleep, that's when it's considered a disorder.
Okay.
Then, more in older kids and teens, you might see conditioned insomnia. This is where they start feeling anxious about sleep itself. Bedtime starts to feel stressful, they worry they won't sleep, and it becomes this negative cycle.
That sounds tough.
It can be. And finally, there are transient sleep disturbances. Short-term insomnia usually linked to something specific. Travel, illness, a stressful event, that usually resolves on its own.
So for that behavioral type, the common one in younger kids, what can parents start thinking about?
Well, the sources really hammer home the importance of a consistent, predictable bedtime routine. Like, rock solid.
Routine, routine, routine.
Pretty much. It signals the brain and body, okay, time to wind down now. Think warm bath, maybe a quiet story, keeping things calm. But, if it keeps going on, talking to the pediatrician is key.
Always a good step. What about other issues? Did obstructive sleep apnea come up? OSA?
Yes, OSA definitely came up. We hear about it in adults, but it happens in kids too.
How does it work in children?
It's basically a blockage in their airway during sleep. Often the soft tissues in the throat relax too much. A big clue can be loud or very frequent snoring.
Snoring isn't always just snoring then.
Not always. With OSA, these blockages cause pauses in breathing. They might be short, the child might not even seem to wake up fully, but it fragments their sleep terribly.
Okay, that sounds serious.
It can impact sleep quality significantly. Now, the sources are clear. Not all snoring means OSA. Lots of kids snore sometimes.
Right.
But if it's really loud, consistent, if you hear gasping or actual pauses in breathing, or if your child is super tired during the day despite sleeping long hours, that warrants a doctor visit.
And they might suggest a sleep study.
They might, yeah, to get a clear picture of what's happening during the night.
Good to know. What else did the sources highlight? Any other common culprits?
Sleepwalking and bedwetting were mentioned. Sleepwalking or somnambulism is more than just rolling over. It's getting up, walking around, sometimes doing complex things, all while asleep.
A bit unnerving to watch, I imagine.
It can be. And bedwetting, nocturnal enuresis, is involuntary urination during sleep after the age you'd expect dryness. The good news is, often both of these tend to resolve as the child gets older.
That's reassuring.
But if they persist or cause a lot of disruption or embarrassment, it's worth checking with a doctor. Rule out underlying causes, discuss ways to manage it.
Okay. And night terrors. They sound scary.
They do sound scary, and they can look quite dramatic. The child might sit bolt upright, scream, look terrified, thrash around, but often they aren't truly awake and won't remember it later.
So different from a nightmare.
Very different. Nightmares happen in REM sleep, usually later in the night, and the child often remembers the scary dream. Terrors happen earlier, in deep sleep. The sources suggest they're usually not serious. Comforting them gently without trying to fully wake them is often best, but if they're happening a lot...
See the doctor.
Yeah, and maybe keep a little log. When do they happen? How long do they last? That info helps the pediatrician.
Got it. Anything else less common that came up?
Restless leg syndrome, or RLS, sometimes called Willis-Ekbom disease, did get mentioned. It's a neurological movement disorder. Yes, it can happen in kids. There might be a genetic link. It's this, overwhelming urge to move the legs, often with weird sensations, creepy, crawly feelings. Usually not painful in kids, unlike sometimes in adults.
And it disrupts sleep.
Big time. Especially because it often gets worse in the evening or at night, right when they're trying to fall asleep. Definitely worth a pediatrician consult if you suspect it.
Okay.
Also, excessive daytime sleepiness. This isn't just being a bit tired. It's being overly sleepy, struggling to stay alert during the day.
How does that show up in kids? Just falling asleep in class?
Sometimes, but interestingly, in kids, it can also look like hyperactivity, fidgeting, difficulty focusing, even aggression. Kind of counterintuitive.
Huh. So acting out could actually be extreme tiredness.
It could be a symptom, yeah. It often points to an underlying sleep issue like OSA or just not enough sleep, or maybe another health condition needs checking out.
Right.
And one more, bruxism, teeth grinding.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that.
Very common, especially during sleep. It can cause headaches, jaw pain, wear down teeth.
Does it go away?
Often it lessens with age, but if it's causing problems, a pediatrician or dentist might suggest things like a mouth guard or maybe looking at stress reduction if that seems to be a factor.
Okay, that covers a lot of ground on the problems.
Yeah.
So let's shift to solutions, or maybe prevention. What did the sources say about building healthy sleep habits?
There were some really consistent themes. Number one, prioritize sleep for the whole family. Be a role model.
Lead by example. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If kids see that sleep is important to you, they're more likely to value it too. And routine, again, but this time the daily routine.
Like wake-up times, meals.
Exactly. Consistent wake-up times, meal times, nap times if they still nap, play times. It helps set their internal body clock, makes bedtime easier.
Creates predictability.
Right. And then the specific bedtime routine itself, keep it consistent, keep it calm, start it early enough so it's not rushed. Brushing teeth, story time, quiet chat.
What about drinks or food before bed?
Good question. Generally, water is best after the last meal or snack. Other drinks, especially sugary ones, can cause tooth decay.
Even milk.
Milk has natural sugars, so ideally brush teeth after the milk. Of course, for babies, nursing or bottle feeding before sleep is perfectly normal and fine. The sources also mention avoiding solids for babies under 6 months, partly because their digestion is still maturing and it could cause discomfort that wakes them.
Okay. What about activity levels during the day?
Being active is great. Encourage play, sports, getting fresh air. It definitely helps them feel tired later.
But not too much activity.
Well, more about avoiding overscheduling. Kids need downtime too, time to just relax and decompress before the whole bedtime process starts.
That's a good point. Downtime is important. And screens, I imagine that came up.
Oh, big time. It's a major factor these days. The consistent advice is limit screen time, especially in the evening. Turn off all screens, TVs, tablets, phones, computers, at least 60 minutes before bed.
An hour before.
And ideally, keep those screens out of the bedroom altogether.
Creates a tech-free sleep zone.
Exactly. And that environment itself matters. Keep the room quiet. Dark blackout curtains can be great, and at a comfortable, maybe slightly cool temperature.
Not too many toys in the bed.
Generally better not to overcrowd it. Maybe 1 or 2 special comfort items are fine, but the bed should really be associated with sleep, not a playroom.
Makes sense. Bed for sleeping.
Right. And finally, parents need to be tuned in to the early signs of problems. Difficulty falling asleep consistently, waking up a lot, that loud snoring we talked about,
Well,
stalling tactics that go on forever.
heavy breathing.
Yeah, loud or heavy breathing, gasping potential signs of OSA. And also notice daytime behavior. Are they zoning out, falling asleep at school? Talking to teachers can give you clues too.
Those are all really practical tips. So putting it all together, when does a parent go from trying these things to thinking, okay, we need professional help?
Well, the sources stress that, a few bad nights here and there, that's normal childhood. Don't panic. But if the sleep problems are persistent, if they're really disrupting your child's daytime mood, behavior, or learning, or if you see those more concerning signs like suspected apnea, that's when it's time to consult the pediatrician.
Don't wait too long if it feels chronic.
Exactly, because sleep is just so crucial for their growth and development, as we said. Chronic sleep loss isn't something to ignore. The pediatrician can do an assessment, ask about sleep habits, maybe rule out other medical issues.
And they might refer to a specialist.
They might. If they suspect something like OSA or another complex sleep disorder, they might refer you to a pediatric sleep specialist. Sometimes an overnight sleep study is needed for diagnosis. But the main point is, talk to your doctor. Most childhood sleep problems can be addressed, often starting with improving sleep habits.
And they might ask you to keep a sleep log.
Very likely, yeah. Tracking bedtimes, wake times, naps, night wakings, it provides really valuable data for them.
This has been incredibly helpful, really breaking down these common issues and giving practical steps.
Glad we could cover it.
So, just to quickly recap for everyone listening, we talked about why sleep is so vital for kids' growth and well-being, the changing sleep needs as they age, and we touched on several common issues: insomnia, OSA, sleepwalking, night terrors, RLS, and bruxism.
And crucially, how to build those healthy sleep routines.
Yes. Consistency, wind down time, limiting screens, creating that good sleep environment, and knowing when persistent problems mean it's time to call the pediatrician.
Definitely reach out to your pediatrician if you have ongoing worries. They're your best partner in this.
Absolutely. And if you want to dive deeper into this topic, find more detailed information, resources on pediatric sleep health, we highly recommend visiting omegapediatrics.com.
That's omegapediatrics.com.
For a great resource there. So check out omegapediatrics.com. And hey, if you found this conversation helpful today,
Which we hope you did.
please give us a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future discussions, and maybe share this with another parent who's, maybe struggling with sleep right now.
Yeah, pass it on. Wishing everyone better nights ahead.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Have More Babies. We'll catch you next time.